of some 700 agents. We're going to bring you all that audio from Tom Homan. But first, I want to play you the fuming nature of Tim Walz yesterday, where he was basically crying on TV because Tom Homan hasn't changed anything and ICE hasn't left. This was Tom Homan yesterday.
Since I met with Tom Homan,
Tim Walz.
expectations have not changed. This force must leave Minnesota. The state of Minnesota and the professionals, nonpartisan judiciary, must do the investigations into the shootings and other abuses of Minnesota's human rights. And this all-out assault on Minnesota across all of state government and all across life must stop. None of this is normal. None of this is okay. None of this makes Minnesota any safer. None of this adheres to the values of this country. All it does is cause terror and trauma.
Just for some starters, when you're removing criminal illegal aliens from a state, you, shocker, are making the state safer. You are. When he says none of this is normal, I tend to agree, because when you see what's happening in Minnesota and it's not happening anywhere else in the country, sans L.A. and a little New York, yeah, this isn't normal. You see a lot of red states cooperating with ICE and doing it in a very, very safe way. This isn't normal. This isn't normal. No, it's not. It's not that you are leaning into this intentional distraction away from the fraud. It's not normal. The fraud's not normal. What's happening in Minnesota is not normal. Completely agree. But ICE is still going to do their job. Tom Homan announced this morning that they are drawing down some officers. But it's important to note, when Tim Walz says that Minnesota's not safer because of ICE, that is completely false. Last week, this is on the White House website, whitehouse.gov. Last week, ICE apprehended Estras Aaron Rodriguez Hernandez, Guatemalan national, accused domestic abuser, in a case that exposes the dangerous stupidity of Minnesota's sanctuary policies and the self-inflicted necessity of Operation Metro Surge. In 2024, Rodriguez Hernandez was arrested and charged with domestic assault. He was intentionally inflicting or attempting to inflict bodily harm on a family member. He got released without bail. A warrant was issued after he didn't show up for court. He evaded justice for a year. In November, he was arrested again on the warrant, booked in the Hennepin County Jail, only to be released the next day on $100 bail. A radical prosecutor downgraded the charge. He was granted a stay of adjudication and set free once again. At every stop, the White House says, local officials in the sanctuary jurisdiction failed to notify ICE of his custody, forcing federal agents to expend significant resources tracking him down and putting Minnesotans at unnecessary risk. So when they say, Tim Walz says, this isn't normal, I would look at this and I would say, yeah, this doesn't feel normal to me either. Doesn't feel normal at all. ICE is still going to be operating in Minnesota. They're not leaving, and it's for reasons like that. I will say, though, Tom Homan this morning during his presser, he made a major announcement.
It's been a week since I met with Tom Homan.
That they are letting ICE into the jails now, which is a massive, massive development. This is Tom Homan.
Attorney General Mayor Frey and law enforcement officials about increasing coordination in a lawful way between the county jails and ICE to avoid public safety threats being released back in the community. While we had our differences, one thing was clear: we all committed to public safety for all who live in the Twin Cities. We have made significant progress under the direction of President Trump, working with state and local officials here in Minnesota, and I expect that to increase in the coming weeks. We continue to have discussions. I'll have discussions this afternoon. We currently have an unprecedented number of counties communicating with us now and allowing ICE to take custody of illegal aliens before they hit the streets. Unprecedented cooperation. And I'll say it again. This is efficient, requires only 1 or 2 officers to assume custody of a criminal alien target rather than 8 or 10 officers going into the community and arresting that public safety threat. This frees up more officers to arrest or remove criminal aliens. More officers taking custody of criminal aliens directly from the jails means less officers on the street doing criminal operations. This is smart law enforcement, not less law enforcement.
Amen. This is exactly what we need. We have been saying for a long time, it's a lot safer to get these guys in the jails than it is on the streets. Not only are you putting the illegal aliens at risk, not only are you putting the ICE agents at risk, but you're putting the public at risk when you have to do these targeted enforcement operations in the streets. As we just outlined, there's a long history in Minnesota of them not notifying ICE of the illegal aliens in their custody. That is changing. This is big news coming out of Minnesota, and it's going to result in a lot of fruit. Make no mistake about it. This is what we were asking for, and now we're getting it. A lot of people are going to say this is the administration bending the knee when Tom Homan says that 700 agents are leaving Minnesota. I don't take it that way. I take it as freeing up 700 agents to go do business all over the country because they don't need to watch the 6 of their guys in the field. But Tom Homan made that announcement after saying that they're allowing ICE into the prisons, saying we're going to draw down.
Before they release them, they don't hold them 1 minute past they normally would. Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today.
It does sound like a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. And we understand that the protesters, the agitators, the lunatic leftists are still following ICE agents around. I do worry and fear for their safety. And I wonder if this is allowing them to feel like they won. Again, I don't necessarily think this is a victory for the left. It's a massive victory to be in these prisons. But there's a portion of this that is absolutely going to invigorate and energize those leftist agitators.
700 law enforcement personnel. We have also fully integrated CBP personnel into the ICRO team structure under one unified chain of command. Not 2 chains of command. There'd be 1 chain of command here. Any large enforcement operation I've ever been involved with, there's 1 chain of command, and that's where we're moving forward. During my press conference last week, I announced that moving forward, ICE will be conducting targeted immigration enforcement operations, like ICE has traditionally done for decades, based on reasonable suspicion to question and detain.
Targeted enforcement operations will continue. We are now going to be allowed into the jails, and 700 officers are being taken off the streets of Minnesota. Your initial reactions and thoughts, you're welcome to add to the conversation, 615-737-9986, whether you want to call in or text in. But Tom Homan did say something that will make the leftists' head spin. He said, whether you like it or not, we aren't stopping mass deportations. And if you're here illegally and you get swept up in one of these targeted enforcement operations, we're not looking the other way. You're not off the table. This was Tom Homan again this morning at a press conference in Minnesota.
For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement actions. If you're in the country illegally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration, and immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country. President Trump made a promise, and we have not directed otherwise. I heard rumors we have, untrue. Given that many public safety threats on our communities, many of which poured across the border during the Biden administration, it makes sense to prioritize public safety risks right now. Again, prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. But we have a criminal here, and non-criminal here. The criminal has to be arrested first because they're the biggest threat to the community.
He makes a lot of sense. But when he says just because you're not committing a secondary crime, you know, crossing the border is a crime. And if you get swept up in an enforcement operation and you weren't the one that was being targeted, you didn't commit a secondary offense, you're not off the table. And that is going to enrage the leftists. And you have to wonder, does this stop anything? Does it stop the leftist agitators in the streets? Does it stop the ICE watch signal chats? Does it stop the roadblocks that we're seeing where they're running out of state plates? Tom Homan did address the roadblocks that he's seeing in Minneapolis where they're stopping vehicles and running those plates. And he said, guys, this isn't going to stand. And the Minneapolis police chief needs to do something about it.
Sworn duties to enforce immigration law that Congress passed is unacceptable. And it's shameful and incomprehensible to me that this unlawful and threatening behavior is being tolerated by anyone. As far as what I saw yesterday with the roadblocks being set up, you're not going to stop ICE. You're not going to stop Border Patrol. The only thing you're doing is irritating your community and want to go get groceries or pick their children up or whatever. I talked to the chief of police, and he committed to taking swift action on those illegal roadblocks. They're illegal. We shouldn't tolerate them. Again, a complete drawdown is going to depend on the cooperation, continued cooperation of local and state law enforcement, and the decrease of the violence, the rhetoric, and the attacks against ICE and Border Patrol. The federal law enforcement personnel, ICE and CBP and other partner agencies are patriots. And they've carried out their duties patriotically.
They're heroes, putting their lives on the line every single day. And what we're seeing from the leftist agitators, the paid protesters, needs to end. And Tom Homan saying there, well, listen, if you want the drawdown to continue, if you want this to go forward, we need some enforcement. We need some backup from local officials. And this kind of stuff can't stand. I'll take your calls and your reaction on the other side. It's 921. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're dealing with back pain, neck pain, sciatica, herniated or bulging disc, knee pain, or numbness in your arms or legs, you know you don't need to, right? You know you could choose to get back to a pain-free life by making a phone call to my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, the team over there at the Wellness Institute, first and only office in Tennessee with a brand new machine called the HydroWave. This is going to stimulate stem cells for real cellular healing. No surgery, no needles, no opioids. You pair that with the non-surgical spinal and knee decompression, and this is about as advanced as it gets. These guys are using anti-gravity machines, robotic lasers, and they actually take the time to review your MRI and explain what's happening, plus how to fix it. You see, that part's pretty important. Start a pain-free life. It is absolutely possible with the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 615-246-5009. 615-246-5009. Or find them online, painisbad.com.
We are down to 10,000 outages now from NES. So what the CEO has to say about tree trimming. It's coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom, 926 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. I'm going through your texts. TB texted 700 leaving ICE agents in Minneapolis. How many remain? Well, I did some research on that. At the peak, we were at about 3,000 law enforcement officers. There's about 2,000 ICE agents and about 1,000 CBP agents in Minneapolis. So with the drawdown of 700, that still leaves you over 2,000, which is quite a lot of ICE agents in Minnesota. It does definitely put some context to the drawdown and the press conference from Tom Homan this morning. Good question from TB. Brian is on the road, wants to talk about Tom Homan. What's up, Brian? How are you?
Hey, bro, you come from up north, I think you used to be a sports guy or are a sports guy. I'm still a sports guy, but I don't like it. I'm just like you. I think they disrespected America. So you've heard of the head fake, right?
Yep.
In basketball. Mm-hmm. Well, you can actually use that in any sport. I mean, it works. I've seen it in hockey even. I think Trump's so good at giving head fakes by doing what he's done with Homan. And I love what Homan says about a single line of reporting where the chain of command just, easily, it's simplified. It's not so complex. And what gets me about what he's doing is he's drawing down, but he's getting more done. So that makes efficiency go up. But he's also holding the line. They're not giving anything in, I don't think. I don't think they're giving anything up. I think Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He's learning the game. He's not a politician, never has been. He's just a brilliant guy who surrounds himself with brilliant people. My son was in the Marine Corps, and I remember when he got his picture taken at Paris Island and he sent it to us, it's a proud time.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen those pictures probably. I think they tell him don't grin, look stern. And I have two brothers-in-law who were Vietnam War heroes, I'll say. And they saw his picture when it's their nephew. And they saw his picture and they said, well, he's pretty, but can he fight? Well, that's what we get with Homan. He's not polished, but damn it, I'd rather have him in a foxhole with me than anybody else.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. And I appreciate the call as always. Thanks, Brian. Tom Homan also did say at this press conference that even though they're going to be drawing down some ICE agents, still leaving behind over 2,000, the investigators that are on the ground digging into the fraud, they're going nowhere.
But we got to remember now, we got special agents on detail here doing the fraud investigation. They're not going anywhere.
Based. That story is the big one. Okay, the fraud in Minnesota, the $19 billion that Trump is saying, or David Hawk, Nick Shirley's right-hand man, says closer to $100 billion in fraud in Minnesota. That is why we're seeing the escalation in Minnesota. It's an intentional distraction. We have heard the talking points from the left, but we've seen with our own eyes exactly what's happening. The fraud investigation will continue. The investigators are going nowhere. That's good news for Americans. Bad news for fraudsters. 9:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 9:30 now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And here's where we stand with NES power outages today. Nearly 10,000 customers are still without power. It is 11 days after the winter storm, and the death toll stands at 25 statewide. Last night, NES CEO Teresa Broyles-Applin took questions from reporters about the utility's storm response. Reporters pointed out that a November assessment said unforeseen challenges prevented sufficient tree trimming in 2025.
Can you explain what those challenges are? On our tree trimming program, I know that we are on track for this year with our tree trimming.
But you weren't in 2020. This is fiscal year last year. You weren't on track last year. Do you know why you were not on track?
I don't recall that statement, but we are on track with our tree trimming this year.
Now, Applin also denies that the tree trimming budget was cut. She said only that the utility didn't spend all that was allotted for tree trimming. Meantime, the United Way says they've logged at least 700 requests for assistance since the storm hit. Erica Mitchell at the United Way says that includes people who need temporary housing.
We are so grateful for our partnership with Airbnb.org. As of today, through that program, 901 people, 149 pets have already been connected to safe temporary housing.
All stays are free through Airbnb and its donors. We're hearing that Senator Mitch McConnell has been hospitalized after experiencing flu-like symptoms. Kentucky TV station WDRB says he sought help out of an abundance of caution.
Spokesperson says McConnell checked in Monday after feeling sick over the weekend. They say his prognosis is positive and that he's in regular contact with his staff.
McConnell's 83 years old, has the longest serving Senate party leader in history. He's also said he's not seeking re-election. That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you're tired of health insurance that feels like a math test, confusing percentages, surprise bills, fine print that kicks you in the rear end when you're not looking, you can make it simple. And you can do that with Cover Nash. They have a brand new nationwide PPO plan that will give you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. with no referrals and no red tape. Just a $250 deductible, a flat $50 copay for any doctor visit, even specialists. Outpatient surgeries, $250. Hospital stays, just $1,000. Free preventative care, colonoscopies, mammograms, physicals, because it is ACA compliant. And here's the kicker: no surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. And if that's not the perfect plan for you, Cover Nash can find something. They work with over 75 top-rated insurance companies, so they'll find something that works for your budget and your needs, guaranteed. Give Shane a call today. He's probably sitting at his desk right now waiting for you to call. 615-465-0023. 615-465-0023. Health insurance made simple. Finally, CoverNash.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
Elon Musk's privately funded tunnel from downtown BNA.
The most cutting-edge transit systems in the world.
They call it the Music City Loop. We call it the BNA hole.
We've submitted a list of questions, and so we're looking forward to the opportunity to get answers.
Questions like, how does a tunnel work? Or how can I be the biggest a-hole in the room without even trying? Because clearly, the fiscally responsible thing to do is to keep traffic backed up until every driver becomes an a-hole. The BNA hole. Zero cost to the taxpayers, and that's the real problem for the left.
I kind of think that's on brand.
Not enough opportunity to play tax collector a-hole. The BNA hole, where progress goes to upset liberals. It's 9:37, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on all the social media platforms that matter, Twitter, True Social, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I was scanning social media last night. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, by the way. Scanning social media last night. This is what I do for prep. The best news source that you can find out there is Twitter, and you find everything on there. But I was scanning, doing my thing. And I found this interview with J.D. Vance in the Daily Mail. I forget who it was. Somebody said that the Daily Mail is very pro-Trump. They're like the New York Post. And I thought to myself, that doesn't sound right. That seems off. And then this interview drops with J.D. Vance and the Daily Mail. And I was like, yeah, this is absolutely false. The Daily Mail is not pro-Trump. The Daily Mail is a European tabloid. They're about as pro-Trump as the Washington Post. So J.D. Vance sits down for this interview, and immediately upon sitting down for the interview, the interviewer says, "Hey, J.D., would you like to apologize to Alex Preddy's family?" What?
Whether those immigration agents violated his civil rights. If it is determined that they did, do you think those immigration agents who shot at Alex Preddy and killed him, do you think they should face criminal prosecution?
I think they should follow the law. We should follow the law.
But should they
investigate
face
this.
Criminal prosecution?
Well, you're asking me to engage in a hypothetical. I'm not going to prejudge these guys. I think that everybody is deserved the presumption of innocence in the American system of justice. That's how it's going to work. They're going to investigate. If they find out that he violated the law, of course, you should face consequences for violating the law. But I'm not going to engage in conjecture about the different permutations of how he might or how this or that officer might have violated the law. Let's do the investigation. Let's figure out, did these officers have a reasonable fear of Alex Preddy given what happened? Did they engage in lawful conduct or unlawful conduct? Let's let the investigation determine those things.
I mean, that's a very reasonable answer, right? Like, that's an answer that shouldn't piss off the leftists, shouldn't piss off the right-wingers. It's down the middle, bland, right? Like, there's nothing extreme about that answer. There's nothing alt-right or Nazi-esque about the answer. It's just, hey, we'll see. I'm not going to make a predetermination. We'll see what happens. We'll let the investigation play out. If you've watched the video, I mean, I feel like it was a justified shooting. I'm sad that the guy lost his life, but we all know who Alex Preddy was at this point. He was an anti-ICE agitator, possibly paid. And he was out there all the time. I mean, he was out there just a week earlier kicking taillights off of cars that were occupied by ICE agents. So this guy wasn't a good guy. He was out there looking for confrontation. Make no mistake about it. And these leftist training centers, these anti-ICE agitators, they'll go to like a Methodist church and they'll get some training. They understand that violence against them could be useful for propaganda. They're actively always trying to egg this stuff on. They just are. And you can see it in the videos. But his first question to JD, would you like to apologize? Would you? If his rights were violated, will you apologize? JD gives a great answer, but the interviewer doesn't stop there. He keeps pushing on this narrative.
Have you apologized? Did you plan to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
For what?
For, labeling him an assassin with ill intent.
Well, again, I just described to you what I said about Alex Preddy, which is that he's a guy who showed up with ill intent to an ICE protest.
No, but if it's determined that his civil rights were violated by this FBI investigation, will you apologize to that family?
So if this hypothetical leads to that hypothetical leads to another hypothetical,
it's a real case.
Will I do a thing?
I love it. Oh, okay, gotcha. If this hypothetical thing starts and then this one happens and that one happens, will I do the thing? I mean, it sounds like he's trying to get J.D. Vance in a gotcha. And J.D.'s not playing these games.
And again, like I said, we're going to let the investigation determine. We're going to let the actual law come to the surface and figure out what happened. And then if something is determined that the guy who shot Alex Preddy did something bad, then a lot of consequences are going to flow from that. We'll let that happen. But again, I don't think it's smart to prejudge the investigation. I don't think it's fair to those ICE officers. I think we should let the investigation actually figure out what happened, what were those guys thinking, what was their reasonable fear or not when they engaged in that shooting.
Again, just a very down the middle answer, not going one way, not going the other. JD is an expert at diffusing these hostile interviews and questions. And if you're watching on Super Talk TV, you see the look of disdain on the interviewer's face that he has to even sit across from J.D. Vance. This guy is not pro-Trump by any stretch of the imagination. And J.D. obviously knows that. And he's very reserved. And he diffuses the question. But he does an awesome job. This is one of the reasons why J.D. is going to be the just light years ahead favorite for presidential candidate in 28. Because of how eloquently he speaks. He was asked another question about crime and ICE, and JD said, we've had a record drop in murders in this country. Went down about 20%. Do you think that could possibly correlate with all the mass deportations?
More of. And yeah, if we see more of it, I think the chaos will come down. We'll continue to enforce our immigration laws. There will be less violence on America's streets, which is ultimately the goal here, to keep people safe. And I find it interesting that the people who are constantly attacking our immigration policy completely ignore that murders went down 20% in the United States of America in 2025. Do we think possibly there's a connection between the fact that we got a lot of violent criminals out of the United States of America with the fact that there are many fewer Americans getting killed? There's absolutely a connection, which is why we're not giving up on immigration enforcement.
Based. Great answer. Hey, do you think there's any correlation between that? Do you think it has anything to do with the overwhelming presence of ICE in these neighborhoods? Do you think it has anything to do with the restoration of law and order in some of our major cities? Absolutely it does. This is what they campaigned on. This is what they're executing. JD, though, calm, cool, collected, delivering those truth nukes silently. He's a beast. He's an absolute beast. Democrats used to actually speak a lot like J.D. Vance. Democrats used to have a sane view on immigration. And you got to ask yourself, what changed? Western Lensman, I don't know if you follow Western Lensman on X. He is a beast on video editing. Just an absolute madman when it comes to it. One of the best.
What I strive to be.
Honestly, like he is top notch, and he does it for the love of the game, which is, I think, why he's so good at it. I don't think this guy's making buku bucks off of posting these videos on X. I think he does it for the love of the game. But Western Lensman put out this video, and it was like, hey, do you remember when Democrats were common sense on immigration?
Democrats used to believe that border security and immigration enforcement were just common sense ideas. Don't believe it? Take their word for it.
Americans are right to demand better border security and better enforcement of the immigration laws.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders. It has become an extraordinary problem.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. And we must do more to stop it.
Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Any city should listen to the Department of Homeland Security. The city made a mistake not to deport someone that the federal government strongly felt should be deported. Just because your child gets across the border, that doesn't mean the child gets to stay.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration.
People say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants from coming here? And the number one answer we give is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple.
Open borders, and you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Our nation, like all nations, has the right and obligation to control its borders, and no matter how decent they are, no matter their reasons, the 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable.
For decades, these weren't controversial or radical ideas. The only thing that changed is them.
So good. Again, that was Western Lensman that put that whole thing together. The video is unbelievable. Another added bonus for watching us on YouTube, Super Talk TV, on Rumble, and all the things. You can see the visuals along with that. But imagine if Democrats still had the same energy. We're seeing a huge difference in red state cooperation with DHS and ICE and blue state cooperation with DHS and ICE. I mean, by the numbers, Breitbart broke down what we're seeing in Tennessee. The Office of Tennessee's District Attorney's General Conference has released its annual state immigration report, revealing that in 2025, illegal migrants committed 2,100 violent offenses, 41 homicide, 145 sexual offenses, 11 child rapes, and more. Republican State Rep Dan Howell said he was shocked by the report and called the data really, really bad. But we're seeing this crime from the illegal aliens, and we're also seeing massive cooperation in a place like Memphis and throughout the state generally. But Memphis is the most eye-opening. It's a blue city. It's been a hellhole for years. Everybody knows it. And they got like, what, 6,000 illegal aliens since they entered Memphis? That's what cooperation looks like. You're seeing some good cooperation with red states and downright opposition from blue states. The 2025 immigration report released on January 30th. It's the annual report from the state's district attorney's general conference. The law directs them to collect and analyze data from law enforcement agencies on the number of persons not lawfully present in the United States, charged or convicted of a criminal offense in the state during the year. The crime statistics in the report come from data collected from the public chapter 1008 arrestee citizenship status, not lawfully present or unknown forms created by the Tennessee's District Attorney General Conference. Police in Tennessee are required to fill out these forms after arresting a non-citizen. The report found that a total of 21,648 charges were filed against illegal migrants among 11,344 cases between January 1st and December 31st, 2025, averaging nearly 1,000 reports per month. However, there are likely even more because one county, Bledsoe, did not submit its data in time for the report to be filed. Migrants representing a total of 119 different countries were cited in reports where the country of origin was obtainable. The categories of crime revealed a shocking toll suffered by the state's citizens at the hands of illegal aliens. I laid it out for you a second ago, but I'll lay it out again. 2183, 2,183 violent offenses, 41 homicides, 1,592 assaults, 145 sexual assaults, 11 child rapes, 40 aggravated kidnappings, 2,920 DUIs, 5,318 cases of driving without a license or on a suspended or revoked license, 966 carjackings, 36 felony firearms offenses, 66 assaults on police or first responders. This is the 2025 immigration report. This is what we're seeing in Tennessee. Imagine what they're seeing in the blue states where there's no cooperation. It's insane. We're going to dive more into what red state cooperation looks like and what blue state opposition looks like on the way. I got plenty of examples, and some of them are going to absolutely infuriate you. When you hear what happened to a baby in Virginia and they let the illegal alien go, you might blow your lid. You might. We'll talk about it. The mainstream media won't, but we're here to cover the stories that they won't touch with a 10-foot pole. It's 9:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults. Gun owners, listen closely. If your safe can be pried open, tipped over, or attacked with basic tools, spoiler alert, that is not a safe, my friends. Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville sells serious heavy-duty safes, including UL-rated TL and TR models designed to withstand real-world attacks. We're talking tools, torches, and time. These aren't just for firearms. These safes will protect everything. They're ideal for your cash, your jewelry, your passports, the family heirlooms, the photo albums, the stuff that you can't afford to lose, you can't replace. Aaron Parker knows security. He is an Air Force security veteran and a former park ranger. This is a Christian family-run operation where Aaron and his sons handle everything from delivery to installation themselves, discreetly and professionally. They serve Nashville and all of Middle Tennessee. They can come to you. Give them a call today, 931-842-6445, or hop over to their YouTube page and find out which safe is right for you. There's a review on every safe they have in stock. You search for Parker Safes on YouTube, or you can hit their website, parkersafes.com.
Coming up, we'll hear from Border Czar Tom Homan after he announced a drawdown of ICE agents in Minnesota. Also, election officials in Fulton County, Georgia, want their files back. That and more coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
They're not getting those files back. And if you really felt like the 2020 election was on the up and up, wouldn't you just be like, yeah, here you go?
You would think, yes.
No problem. Check it out.
Yeah.
Get back to us later. Do they even need them anymore? I mean, the election's come and gone. Like, yeah, just keep them. Keep them. A couple people on the text line. I was reading these Tennessee stats on illegal immigration. that was released by the Office of the Tennessee District Attorney General's Conference. They had all the stats on illegal alien crime in 2025. One texter pointed out, listen, this is just the illegal aliens that got caught. I said, yeah, good point. Another texter said, how are they getting licenses? I don't know how they're getting them in Tennessee, but I do know that just because you're on a suspended or revoked license, that could have been an out-of-state license as well. And I also know that there's quite a few blue states that do give licenses to illegal aliens. I remember Tim Walz signed an executive order, driver's licenses for all.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
Well, at least we know the why on why they're giving illegal aliens licenses, especially in Minnesota. This is what we're seeing. It's blue state opposition versus red state cooperation. And in these blue states, they know that their citizens are fleeing for free states like Tennessee, like Florida, like Texas. And as they flee and the deportations continue happening, the Democrats are in a spiral because they're going to lose representation in the House. They're losing all their newcomers. And so this is why we're seeing the violent thrashing and gnashing of teeth when it comes to these deportations in places like Minnesota. President Trump dropped a bomb on Truth Social. He says the crime-ridden cities are all Democrat-run cities, and if they want help, they have to ask for it. Because if we go in, all they do is complain. Yep. We're going to talk more about how these blue states are actively working against ICE and the red states are cooperating when we get back. I want to play you some audio from New York, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the cooperation that we're seeing in certain states, and I still got that story from Virginia that is going to absolutely make you lose your mind. All that and more on the way. It's 10 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A reminder that they're doing milling and paving on eastbound 24, so it's very slow. 2 left lanes block Sam Ridley Parkway to Almaville Road. Could be out there for another 3 hours. An immediate drawdown. That's what Border Czar Tom Homan announced this morning regarding the situation in Minneapolis. 700 federal agents are leaving the Twin Cities after getting the cooperation, he says, of local police agencies to hand over criminal illegal aliens. Homan warns, though, that the announcement is not a capitulation by the government.
For those who are not a national security threat or public safety risk, you are not exempt from immigration enforcement action. If you're in the country illegally, you are not off the table. And let me be clear, President Trump fully intends to achieve mass deportations during this administration. And immigration enforcement actions will continue every day throughout this country.
Meantime, 2 Venezuelan nationals accused of assaulting an ICE agent last month in Minneapolis were ordered released by a federal judge yesterday. That judge saying they didn't pose a flight risk. Well, ICE agents immediately arrested them again, angering the judge. These are the 2 guys that allegedly attacked the agents with a snow shovel and a broom handle as they tried to arrest another illegal immigrant. As tension mounts over how NES handled the storm response, new allegations are surfacing. This one from Republican Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton.
And the response of NES was atrocious. I do know that there's utility companies in East Tennessee who have told NES, hey, we're willing to send people here, and they never heard back from NES either.
Speaker Sexton wants executives at NES removed, as well as the members of the governing board. Well, NES appears to be the target of legislation from both Republicans and Democrats in the General Assembly. Another bill by State Rep. Jason Powell would require the utilities to publish after-action reports that would openly show where they failed.
This has been catastrophic. It's put the people of Nashville through hell. But it's a failure on the leadership of NES. That's where the blame lies, because they should have had a plan in place. They should have had crews lined up.
Powell thinks that his bill will be assigned to a committee by next week. And officials in Fulton County, Georgia, want their files back. The 700 boxes of documents seized by the FBI last week. County Chairman Robert Pitts is saying that a motion was filed in federal court this morning seeking their return.
We don't know where they are. We don't know really who has them. We don't know what they're doing with them. Are they being tampered with? I can use my imagination, and I would certainly hope not, but we don't know. So that's why we'd like to get them back.
Pitts also wants to unseal the affidavit that allowed the FBI to conduct the search. That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends over at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We've talked about immigration cooperation in red states. We're seeing the fruits of that in Memphis, huge, bigly, let's be perfectly honest. But we're also seeing a lot of blue state opposition in places like Minneapolis, New York, and Virginia. There's a story out of Virginia that is going to make you lose your mind. And I'm not saying that just to that's not hyperbole. It's real. Remember they elected the moderate Democrat, right? That's what Abigail Spanberger was. She wasn't some far left extremist. She was a moderate. Okay? She was down the middle. And I can't believe people bought that lie. Since Democrat Governor Abigail Spanberger has taken office, she is now releasing illegal aliens back onto the street. No cooperation with ICE, including a guy who did this to an 8-month-old baby. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin explains.
These immigrants out of the prisons, it is safer for everyone, not on the street operations. So it seems like Spanberger, she didn't get the memo?
I guess she didn't get the memo because we had a great partnership with Glenn Youngkin and his team on the ground there to make sure that when these criminal illegal aliens who are in the jails, in their custody, once they serve their time, that we are notified and they can be turned over to ICE to be released back into their own country. But Kaylee, I want to give you one example, and your viewers one example of a direct response to this. There is an illegal alien that we arrested from El Salvador in September of last year. He was arrested for strangling with an electric cord his 8-month-old sister.
Oh my goodness.
She was killed because of the policies, because of these new sanctuary city policies out of Virginia. Once this individual serves his time, he will go back onto Virginia's streets because we're not allowed to be notified. That is absolutely heinous, and Virginians are going to be a lot less safe because of this policy.
Strangling an 8-month-old baby to death with an electrical charging cord. And you're going to be released back out in the streets after you finish your time. Huh. This is fairness, right? This is pushing back against the Gestapo and Nazis and the tyrants in the White House. Is that what this looks like? That's what this looks like. An 8-month-old baby. Now, personally, I almost swore. I don't want these a-holes to spend any time in our prisons. I want them to be deported immediately, or in this case, maybe something like, I don't know, wood chipper feet first, slow speed, something like that, personally. But he's going to serve his time, and then he is going to be released. Huh. Tricia McLaughlin continues.
Tricia, that is insane what you just told me. And I saw on your Twitter feed that in New York, this is just likewise insane. 6,947 illegal aliens with criminal records were just let out on the streets of New York right behind me.
That's exactly right. And we saw the same out of Minneapolis, which, of course, we're trying to solve for. I'm so glad that Tom Homan is on the ground there trying to make really what is common sense deals, because all we're asking for is for state and local cooperation. I mean, just a couple more of these individuals that we've picked up off of the street in the last few days, Kaylee, out of Minneapolis. An individual from Laos convicted for rape and sexual assault. An individual from Vietnam convicted for sexual assault, homicide, negligent manslaughter. Another from Laos convicted for homicide. These are the people who have been walking around Minneapolis with impunity for the last few years, and who ICE, because we're not allowed into those jails, we have to flood the zone and get these individuals out of the country. That's what we're doing in Minneapolis. That's what we're going to be doing in New York with those sanctuary city policies.
And thank goodness they are. Remember, I played a clip earlier in the show that Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, don't you know, said ICE doesn't make us any safer. ICE doesn't make the streets of Minneapolis any safer. Huh, weird. Last time I checked, getting convicted rapists and murderers off the streets actually is rather a good thing in terms of public safety. No? Tricia McLaughlin mentioned New York there, and in New York, their lousy governor, Kathy Hochul, she is immediately moving to block local police from helping ICE round up illegal aliens in any way, shape, or form. She made this big announcement on MS Now. The New York fall-off continues. They are crashing out like we have never could have imagined.
If you're not using our local police, I need them to protect the communities and not have this distrust. And this is what we're hearing, that people are not distinguishing between local police, and we try so hard here to have a positive relationship with our communities of trust. And I want my police going after the murderers, the rapists, the gun traffickers, being available for emergencies. And if they're off, they're being deputized by ICE under these agreements that just a few of our counties are doing, they're being distracted. And
they're being distracted. Well, I want them to go after murderers and rapists and gang members and all of that. Unless we just had them in prison and they're an illegal alien, then we want them back on the streets. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what they're saying. Zohran Mamdani doesn't want to be outdone by the mayor, the governor of New York, the mayor of New York City, Zohran. He is set to sign a bill that will fortify sanctuary city policies and ban ICE from operating inside any New York City correctional facility. Fox News had the call to play.
Hochul's policy idea would change nothing for the NYPD, which is already barred from civil immigration enforcement under the city's sanctuary laws. But New York City's Democratic Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani is set to sign a bill that fortifies those sanctuary policies and bans ICE from operating inside any New York City correctional facility.
Oh, nice. And now who would benefit from this? It's not the citizens of New York. It certainly is not the citizens. The Democrats will benefit from this. They'll get those heads counted in the census. They'll keep their representation. Maybe they'll give them some driver's license. Maybe they'll help them vote. You know, maybe they'll treat them like newcomers and neighbors, and they'll hope that they vote. But who are they releasing? A story here from Breitbart. Immigration's Customs Enforcement has arrested an illegal alien whose rap sheet includes arrests for rape and strangulation after a Democrat judge in sanctuary New York City set him free on drug charges. On Monday, ICE officials announced the arrest of illegal alien Gerardo Miguel Mora of Mexico in New York City. Miguel Mora had recently been arrested on larceny and criminal possession of stolen property. Last week, Judge Sheridan Jack Brown, a Democrat, surprise, shocker, stunned. Democrat activist judge in Brooklyn allowed Miguel Mora to be released from jail despite ICE lodging a detainer against him so that way he would not be released back into the community. These are the types of public safety threats that New York Governor Hochul and Mayor Mamdani are releasing from their jails and onto the streets to perpetrate more crimes and create more victims. The Department of Homeland Security's Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement, Miguel Mora's criminal record, and this is just one guy. This is just one guy. His criminal record in the United States dates back over a decade. In 2011, he was arrested for rape, strangulation, assault, forcible touching, burglary, and disorderly conduct. The following year, he was convicted of burglary by New York State Supreme Court and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release. He should have been deported. And everybody knows it. Oh, an illegal alien rapist. We'll just, you know what? You know what we'll do? We'll keep tabs on him. As long as he's got to check in once a week and answer when his probation officer calls, well, you know, he's going to be good. He's going to be good to go. Nothing to worry about. Unbelievable. These are the monsters that are being defended by blue state governors. It's crazy. It's crazy. In red states, Texas, for instance, I got a video out of Midland, Texas, where these guys, it's not just police cooperating with these guys. They got the fire department cooperating with these guys. This video is pretty wild. This operation happened in Midland, Texas, where the fire department showed up to assist ICE, bringing illegal aliens off of a construction site into federal custody using their ladders. If you're watching us on Supertalk TV, you'll see it. The illegal aliens thought that they could hide on the roof. And the fire department said, no, actually, no. We're going to get you down with our ladders. Absolutely based. We need more of this and less of what we're seeing in Minneapolis, Virginia, New York. A lot more of this, please. Shout out to the base firefighters in Midland, Texas. But you still have Democrat politicians screaming and losing their mind. Did you hear what Jerry Nadler said? Jerry Nadler hiked up his pants as high as he possibly could and essentially called for ICE agents to be shot. And that's not listen. I'm not ginning this up. This was Jerry Nadler yesterday during a hearing. Listen to the Nadster and what he says.
But what is really the major problem in this country today is the fascism in our streets. The attacks on American citizens by masked hoodlums. If you were attacked by a masked person, you might think you were being kidnapped. You'd be justified in shooting the person.
Oh.
To protect yourself.
So is Nadler saying that you're justified in shooting ICE agents? I feel like that's what Nadler is saying. Let's listen to it one more time.
But what is really the major problem in this country today is the fascism in our streets. The attacks on American citizens by masked hoodlums. If you were attacked by a masked person, you might think you were being kidnapped. You'd be justified in shooting the person to protect yourself.
Yeah, he's definitely advocating for people to shoot ICE agents. Pretty sure. Now, the Americans that are attacked by these hoodlums, these masked vigilantes, if you will, they're the ones throwing bricks at them, chasing them around in their vehicles, ramming them with cars, kicking taillights off their vehicles, spitting in their faces, cursing at them, and doing everything they can to stop them from doing the job of getting the rapists and the child sodomizers and the murderers that the damn Democrats released into the streets back into custody. And these radical leftist lunatics chase them around. They do their roadblocks. They're going to stop you if you got out-of-state plates. They're going to run your plates. They got their ICE chats on Signal. That's fine. Nothing to see here. Don't forget, it's not the agitators. It's not the paid protesters. It's not the lunatics or the Antifa members. It's not the criminal illegal aliens who are raping kids and raping women and assaulting people or choking babies to death with electrical cords or murdering individuals or robbing people. Those aren't the problem. That's not what making these cities less safe. It's the ICE agents. Got it. You keeping score at home? Just write that one down. Remember, no matter what you hear, it's the ICE agents' fault. Okay. Now, elsewhere, we see cooperation. And when we see cooperation, we see huge victories. We talked about Virginia, where Abigail Spanberger, the moderate Democrat, is going to allow an illegal alien who murdered a baby, strangling it to death with an extension cord. That individual can be released back onto the street. That's the kind of cooperation we get in Virginia. Over in the state of West Virginia, whose decision to secede from Virginia looks better and better every single day, they're working with federal immigration authorities, and it's bearing a lot of fruit. ICE announced the arrest of over 650 illegal aliens in West Virginia during a 2-week statewide operation.
There was an ICE operation that took place in West Virginia where 650 illegal immigrants were arrested, many of them with significant criminal records, including child sex abuse, drug possession, and endangering the welfare of a child. And ICE Director Todd Lyons says the reason that many people don't know that this even took place is because there was a successful partnership between state, local, and federal officials that targeted criminals to get them out of this country. That is not what happened in Minneapolis. So a lot of these ICE agents were forced to arrest people on the streets. And then you had the protesters that came in and local police not backing up the federal government. So it became chaos. What happened in West Virginia is an example of a successful operation and similar operations that took place during the Obama administration and even before. But that's not what's happening right now.
No, it's not what's happening right now. And it's because of one thing and one thing only: severe, crippling TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. The ideas that are being pushed by the Trump administration were mainstream Democrat ideas not 10 years ago, not 15 years ago. Today it's radical and it's extreme. No one's illegal on stolen land. Open borders for all. Everyone has a right to be here in the United States of America. Make no mistake about it. Now, by the way, the everyone includes people that were allowed here only temporarily also. Yeah. If you were granted temporary status in America, that actually meant 100% stay here forever status. That's what we're learning from an activist federal judge who blocked Donald Trump from ending the Haitians' temporary protected status. I'll tell you what that judge said in the filing when we get back. It's 10:21. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Glock store. We talk about these guys all the time. This is where I love to train. This is where I love to shop. The staff is the best, and they always have the best firearms for sale. Right now, I don't know if you've heard, they got the brand new Gen 6 Glocks. These are the latest, most refined stock Glocks ever available. These are the ones with the new optic system, the RTF6 tech string, the enlarged beaver tail, the flat face trigger, the trigger guard undercut, the integrated thumb rest, aka the gas pedal. I could go on and on. These things are beautiful. The Gen 6 Glocks are top-notch. And the Glock store got their first shipment, G17s, 19s, 45s, but they were actually gone before they even got there. Like, as they're unboxing them, people are running out of store with them. That's because the Glock store was letting you pre-order these bad boys. You can pre-order one of these right now, and as a thank you for your pre-order, you mention my name, Chris Hand, you'll get an extra magazine when you pick up your new Gen 6 Glock. Here's what you do. Go to the Glock store. If you like what you see, feel, and shoot with the new Gen 6 Glock, place your pre-order. When it's time to pick it up, you mention the Chris Hand Show, boom, free extra magazine. This is a limited time offer only from our friends at the Glock store. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, always open online, glockstore.com.
Excavator experience is a big plus. A high school diploma or GED, valid driver's license, and the ability to pass a drug test and background check are required. Apply today at busybeehvac.com. Busy Bee, join the hive that thrives.
A Tennessee congressman joins the call to fire NES's leadership team. And the man who attempted to kill President Trump in Florida is being sentenced today. That and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Hide your pets.
They're eating the cat.
Hide the cats. Hide the dogs. A federal judge has blocked Donald Trump from ending Haitian temporary protected status. Judge Anna Reyes issued a temporary stay preventing Nome from removing temporary protected status for up to 350,000 Haitians.
Harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
People on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television. My dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say.
Her ruling actually opened with a 1783 George Washington quote, which I find hilarious because you're a leftist activist judge, and you're quoting George Washington, who, I don't know if you knew this. right-wing extremist, insurrectionist, slave owner. Whoa. I can't believe that this activist judge would quote a bigot, but here we are. The judge opened her ruling with that 1783 George Washington quote about welcoming the oppressed and persecuted nations and took direct shots at Noam for calling some immigrants killers, leeches, or entitlement junkies on X. What's wrong with calling some of these temporary protected status immigrants killers, leeches, or entitlement junkies? If the shoe fits, people tend to wear them, right? That's what happens when the shoe fits, right? Are some of them not killers? I mean, there are some killers. There are some leeches. There are some entitlement junkies. Let's be fair. We could zoom out and do more than just the Haitians when it comes to that. She said Secretary Noam has a First Amendment right to call immigrants any inept name she wants. She is, however, constrained by both the Constitution and the APA to apply faithfully the facts to the law. So we got another day, another federal judge pushing back against the Trump administration. Why? Oh, feelings. Does temporary protected status mean forever protected status? Can you Google temporary for me? Maybe I don't know the meaning of temporary. Because I was under the impression, and this is just me, and I'm just but a humble meme farmer and a dad. I'm just a dad. When I hear the word temporary, like when I say, son, you need to temporarily go to your room, I don't send him there forever. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Definition right here from Webster's and Oxford. Lasting for only a limited period of time, not permanent.
Weird. So I guess in the meantime, until we get this thing ironed out, hide the pets.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Eat the cat. 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 They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
And ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
People on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television. My dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people on
I'm taking it
television
from the city
said the
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Talk about extreme.
Calling for a complete overhaul of the leadership of Nashville Electric Service. Ogles has sent a letter to the Tennessee General Assembly detailing ways NES failed the public in its storm preparation and response. Ogles is advocating for the General Assembly to assume oversight of NES. New information about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The New York Post is reporting her son-in-law was the last person to see her alive. Tommaso Cioni reportedly drove Guthrie home after having dinner with him and Savannah Guthrie's sister on Saturday evening. He told police he made sure she made it safely inside before leaving. Also, a television station near Tucson reports they have received a ransom note. A man convicted of trying to assassinate Donald Trump in 2024 is scheduled to be sentenced in a Florida courtroom this morning.
Prosecutors argue Ryan Ruth deserves to spend the rest of his life in a federal prison after a jury last year convicted him of aiming a loaded rifle towards Trump while the then presidential candidate was playing golf in September 2024. Ruth represented himself at trial and seemingly acknowledged his actions that day, though he argued he never intended to harm Trump. Ruth is now pushing for a 27-year sentence that his lawyers say could allow him to, quote, experience freedom again as opposed to dying in prison. Peter Haralambous, ABC News.
RFK Jr. bringing his Take Back Your Health tour to Nashville today, holding a rally at the state capitol building. what to expect with News 2's Jaxie Pigeon.
It's expected he will highlight things like new federal dietary guidelines and broader efforts aimed at improving nutrition and lowering healthcare costs. The secretary may point to changes like a redesigned food pyramid, crackdowns on waste and fraud in Medicaid, and new drug pricing agreements intended to reduce prescription costs.
Now, that rally begins in just about 45 minutes with Governor Bill Lee in attendance. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Your heat seems to be running a lot more than it should. Why, you ask? Well, you might be surprised to learn it's because the insulation in your windows has failed. You know, when that happens, your heat leaks out and the cold air gets in. Talk to the pros at Window Nation and get new windows with big savings during Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 free sale. It's going on right now. Plus, you could get them with 0 money down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. You act right now, you'll get an extra 10% off for the month of February. Schedule a free quote right now at windownation.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on
Suffering from neuropathy? Tune in at 8:20 Monday morning for the Toddy Neuropathy Center Minute and learn how to treat your neuropathy. For more information, call Toddy Neuropathy Center at 615-871-2373 or go to toddyneuropathycenter.com.
From the Beacon Capital Management Weather Center.
1037, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. We averted disaster yesterday. Did you see that? For like a couple more weeks, I think it is. Right? Donald Trump signed a bill to end the partial shutdown. Did anybody notice that the government was shut down partially? No? No. Yeah, we didn't either. We didn't either. Full disclosure. But it's over, so let's celebrate. Do you think they pop bottles after they do this? Maybe. President Donald Trump signed legislation on Tuesday to end the partial government shutdown, which began on Sunday. Trump signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act in the Oval Office while flanked by Republican lawmakers, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, among others. The legislation funds 5 appropriations bills to end the shutdown and includes a continuing resolution to fund the Department of Homeland Security until Friday, February 13th at midnight, when we will then go full Groundhog's Day and do all of these conversations again. This was President Trump. Hold on, I got too much audio running in the background. Boom, let me close that, and let me make sure that this one's closed. Yep, perfect. This was President Trump yesterday inside the Oval Office.
Thrilled to sign the Consolidated Appropriations Act to immediately reopen the federal government and fund the vast majority of operations through the rest of the fiscal year.
Said he's thrilled. This bill is a great victory for the American people. Instead of a bloated and wasteful omnibus bill monstrosity full of special interest handouts, we've succeeded in passing a fiscally responsible package. It wasn't that fiscally responsible, full disclosure. It's more fiscally responsible than we've seen in the past. But I wouldn't necessarily call it fiscally responsible. We've succeeded in passing a fiscally responsible package that actually cuts wasteful spending while supporting critical programs for the safety, security, and prosperity of the American people. This bill officially ends taxpayer subsidies for NPR and PBS, slashes $10 billion in wasteful foreign aid spending, continues the closure of the wasteful USAID program, and more. This was the president.
The bill officially ends all taxpayer subsidies for radical far-left woke programming on NPR and PBS, or just a waste of money. It slashes nearly $10 billion in wasteful foreign aid spending, giving money to countries that don't need it. They have plenty of money. And we ended that. That was so important, $10 billion. Think of it.
I think it's something like 190 countries in the world. I remember the stat. I saw it a few weeks back. It's like 190-something countries in the world, and 170-something of them receive foreign aid from America. What? That doesn't feel like America first. Cutting $10 billion in wasteful foreign aid spending. It's a start. But I feel like we could do a whole lot more lopping.
It continues the closure of USAID and creates a brand new America First Opportunity Fund for responsibly providing foreign assistance to nations where it actually.
Hey, this is Pastor Allen. Join us on Super Talk.
Interests. So we have nations that do help us, and it serves our interests, so we have something to help them out with. This bill also cuts funding to abusive and weaponized IRS programs. I was a victim of that, too. You probably read that. Did you read that recently, right?
Sure.
I was a victim of that, too. Did you hear that? Is that a weird little accent? I'm here for it. He was, but.
Help them out with. This bill also cuts funding to abusive and weaponized IRS programs. I was a victim of that, too.
I don't know why. It's the little things that keep me going sometimes.
IRS programs. I was a victim of that, too. You probably read that. Did you read that recently, right?
Sure.
I was, I guess, the ultimate victim. That were used to harass American taxpayers. It builds on the Republican rescissions package passed last summer, which saved Americans billions and billions of dollars. It fully funds our military, includes a well-deserved pay raise for all American service members, and makes historic investments in the American shipbuilding industry, which is great. We're really starting to do something incredible with shipbuilding. And I don't know if you saw that the United States of America, for the first time in over 30 years, beat Japan. We love Japan, great country, but their power in steel making, that we produce more steel this year than Japan. Think of that, more steel than Japan.
I mean, that's national security. Producing steel is 100% national security. Before we started producing it back here in the United States, most of it's coming from China. We can't have that. We can't. Who wants to fight a war with China when China makes our steel? It's not. I mean, that's the reason we won World War II is because of the manufacturing base that we had. Donald Trump is trying to rebuild that manufacturing base. He talked about the IRS. He talked about how it fully funds our military. It includes a well-deserved pay raise for all American service members. I'm fine with that. I think that the armed men and women of the armed services deserve a bit of a pay raise, a little bump. Let's get it. They also make historic investments in American shipbuilding industry, which is great. Donald Trump says we're really starting to do something incredible with shipbuilding. It also includes measures to continue combating crime in Washington, D.C., continue funding deportation flights and to designate within the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, that the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence initiative. Trump's efforts to restore law and order to the nation's capital and have had pronounced results, as Breitbart News noted. So this is where we're at. One of the ways we got over the hurdle was a conversation on the SAVE Act, and the conversation on the SAVE Act continues. I like the SAVE Act. I think you should have to present a photo ID, and you should be a citizen when you vote. The Democrats think it's Jim Crow 2.0, but I thought we had Jim Crow 2.0 already. Wouldn't this be Jim Crow 3.0? I think we're up to 3.0. We could be up to 4.0. I might have missed another edition of Jim Crow. But they're always saying this is Jim Crow 2.0. This is Jim Crow 2.5, dog.
2.0.1?
2.0.1. It's like an iPhone update.
Yeah.
This is Jim Crow 2.0.1.2.
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
We're going to stop it. We can't let these bigoted Republicans make people use ID when they vote. You know, it's so funny, because you need an ID to vote in Tennessee. They got to check your ID. I have quite a few black friends here in the state of Tennessee. I have family. I have my cousins here in the state of Tennessee. You know what I've never heard them say? That when they're asked for their ID to vote, that it is racist. Never heard that. It's weird. It's strange. 76% of black Americans actually support voter ID. Huh. Would that mean 76% of black voters support Jim Crow 2.0?
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
So this is another 80-20 issue in the American public that Donald Trump and the Republicans need to lean into. I think it might even be better than 80-20. It might be 90-10. But Chuck Schumer and the Democrat Party are now going to fight tooth and nail to block voter ID and citizenship requirements to vote. Because racism. Got it. Rep. Chip Roy, who has been one of the biggest, loudest voices championing the SAVE Act, said, guys, you see all the fraud in Minneapolis, right? What do you think that they're doing with ballots? If they're going to lie and say their kids have autism, they're going to lie and say the daycare is full, they're going to lie and say we're feeding all these children and they're using ChatGPT to make a list of names of Somali kids, what's going to stop them from lying when it comes to elections? Let's be perfectly honest. Nothing will stop them when it comes to lying for elections. If you're willing to steal billions of dollars and send it out of the country from the federal government, do you really think that lying when you vote is a bridge too far? Chip Roy was on Laura Ingram's show last night.
Now, their argument here, the Democrats' argument, if there is really an argument, is that there really is no voter fraud, or it's extremely rare. So what you all are doing by requiring proof of citizenship to vote and getting people off the rolls, cleaning up the rolls. What you guys would require is just a way to make it more difficult to vote. And you say?
Well, Laura, great to be on the show. And look, the only threat to our elections, like all this, people that are in a tizzy about President Trump, the only threat to elections are the people who are here who will steal our elections by voting without voter ID. Like all of the fraud that we're seeing in Minneapolis, right? All of that fraud. That's just the tip of the iceberg of the kinds of things we're seeing across the country. If they can do that there with child care facilities, then what do you think they're doing with ballots?
Bingo. Honestly, if they're going to lie and say their kids have autism because they're getting paid off, why wouldn't they get paid off for their mail-in ballot? Why wouldn't they lie for that? It makes a lot of sense.
What do you think they're doing in the voting process? We know they are engaging in this on purpose. There's a reason Democrats are all concerned about this. Why would they be concerned about ICE being near voting locations? Because they don't want enforcement of the law there. So enter the SAVE Act, which I introduced 2 years ago. Mike Lee introduced this in the Senate, which, as you know, ensures that you have voter identification, i.e. you have to prove your citizenship to register, and we'd clean up the rolls. Because right now, people don't understand. Arizona has 2 sets of systems for their voting because they're not allowed under federal law to require proof of citizenship and voter ID for federal elections. They're not allowed to do it. So they do it for their state elections, but not federal. I'm running for attorney general. I want to be able to enforce the law in Texas. Current federal law doesn't allow us to do it. The SAVE Act would fix that. Now we've added true federal voter ID to that and have introduced the Save America Act. So we have SAVE, citizenship, voter ID equals Save America. We think we ought to move it through the House and to the Senate.
It's a load of crap from the Democrats. This is a 90-10 issue in the American public. There's nothing racist about voter ID. There's nothing Jim Crow about voter ID. We're one of the only civilized countries in the world that doesn't require it. What are we doing, America? What are the Republicans doing? I mean, let's be perfectly honest. What on earth are the Republicans doing? Senate Majority Leader John Thune needs a swift kick in his ass. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I was never really gung-ho about John Thune as the Senate Majority Leader, but, it's like I wasn't really gung-ho about Marco Rubio. And, take a wait-and-see approach. Rubio's been outstanding. John Thune, besides the big, beautiful bill, what is his major accomplishment? Does anybody know? Can anybody in the class, anybody in the back of the class, can anybody tell me what John Thune's major accomplishment is? Passing the SAVE Act would be a major accomplishment for John Thune. Unfortunately for John Thune, he's not sure he can do it. Do you want to know why? He's not sure that they have enough time to do it. I kid you not. He said this yesterday.
Right. Well, I guess, and I would just remind people that the coin in the realm in the Senate is floor time. There's a finite amount of it, and we have a lot of things we have to do.
Oh, okay.
There's a housing bill that's awaiting action, hopefully a market structure bill, possibly permitting reform, farm bill, highway bill. You can go right down the list. Russia sanctions. There are a whole bunch of things that could be teed up for action on the floor of the Senate.
You know what's more important than all of those things? Securing our elections.
And so you have to make some judgments, and the conference will have a conversation about that. I've committed to that we will talk about that idea and determine whether or not what the conference's views are about it and how they want to proceed. As I said, we will vote on the SAVE Act, but exercising or triggering a talking filibuster has ramifications, implications that I think everybody needs to be aware of.
Will somebody think of the ramifications? The ramifications of having a secure election? Of making people say that they are who they are? Oh, the humanity. The ramifications. Unbelievable. Just so you know, the path to a simple majority vote is via the talking filibuster that he mentioned. Some Republicans are pushing for that. Mike Lee, others backed by House conservatives and President Trump. They're pushing for a return to the traditional talking/standing filibuster. It's talking, standing. It's the same exact thing. Those terms are interchangeable. Talking filibuster, standing filibuster. Okay. The majority leader schedules the bill for the floor consideration, okay? If Democrats object and threaten to filibuster, Republicans could enforce existing rules requiring opponents to physically hold the floor by standing and speaking continuously. No silent virtual block. Democrats would need to talk nonstop to delay, which is just exhausting and visible to everyone to see. You know, we'll get the Spartacus speech from Cory Booker. But it potentially forces them to yield eventually due to fatigue, public pressure, you name it. And then once the talking filibuster ends, the Senate can proceed directly to a vote on the bill. At that point, only a simple majority is needed, 51 votes to pass the SAVE Act. People are saying that they have the 51 votes to pass the SAVE Act. No rule change or 60-vote cloture would be required in that scenario. The talking filibuster is the original default under Senate precedents. You've heard Matt Murphy talking about this quite a bit. It brings it back to those rules from the 70s. Why won't he do it? I don't know. All I know is that he's flanked by his boy, Senator Lankford, while he's making that statement. Senator Lankford, the author of the bipartisan border bill. Are these guys rhinos? Are these guys working against Donald Trump? I'm starting to think that they are. He confirmed a vote will happen at some point, but the ramifications. Will someone think of the ramifications? You know, I've been thinking a lot about John Thune lately. I have. Do you remember
Donald Trump.
how John Thune felt about Donald Trump before he got the Republican nomination?
Donald Trump is the Republican nominee. Would you support him?
Well, I'm hoping, Leanne, to have other options.
Oh, Donald Trump is currently your president. Will you support him? Will you support him? No. He's probably still hoping for.
I'm hoping, Leanne, to have other options.
Yeah. That's John Thune for you. John Thune, Rhino. Hey, just as a matter of fact, our two senators, Haggerty and Blackburn, both fully support the SAVE Act. It's not all senators. It's just the guy in charge. 1054, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We talk about these guys all the time because they are the best. February's here, and they're going to take care of you for Valentine's Day. It's right around the corner, and they're doing something pretty cool for it. If you're a new customer and you join their yearly Beehive membership anytime this month, you're automatically entered into their Valentine's Sweetheart Deal giveaway. One winner is going to get a relaxing massage from Third Coast Salt. They were just named Wilson County's best, and a $100 Visa gift card for a legitimate dinner date. Not bad. They're doing the live drawing Friday, February 13th on Facebook Live, so keep an eye out for that. And while we're at it, Tennessee Weather does what Tennessee Weather does. When storm rolls in, Busy Bee is ready with some serious savings to protect you and your home. How does this sound? 40% off a whole home surge protector with repairs. $500 off select home water repipes. And the one everybody knows, 93 are free. It's the main line clog deal. If they can't clear your main line, you don't pay for it. So don't wait. Give Busy Bee a call today. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
All right, drivers, we're fixing roads, and it's getting in the way. Right now in Millersville, rolling roadblock, left lane closed, 65 southbound past Louisville Highway, exit 98. And then in Smyrna, got some milling and paving going on. The left 2 lanes are blocked, 24 eastbound between San Brindley Parkway and Almaville Road. And a Tennessee man starts shooting a gun at linemen trying to restore electricity. Details coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it's not the first time I've heard a story like that.
No.
When I lived in Detroit, it was like our first big snowstorm after we moved there.
Yeah.
And we turned on local news, and they were like, we're asking the public to please stop robbing the linemen at gunpoint. We need to restore power to the area. It's like,
yeah,
that was like a rude awakening. It was like, welcome to Detroit, baby. Welcome to Detroit. It's like, oh, my gosh. Hey, we're not done piling on John Thune, okay? John Thune is an absolute rhino. I'm convinced. I don't know how else we come to any other conclusion. We can't do the talking filibuster because, golly, guys, it takes just too much time. We'll talk a little bit more about the SAVE Act. We'll take some of your phone calls on the way as well. David in Smyrna is going to be up first, and anybody else that wants to jump into the conversation, turn the monologue into a dialogue to steal a good line from my friend Matt Murphy, 615-737-9986. It's 11 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, a Perry County man faces charges after deputies say he fired gunshots near utility workers by his home. The sheriff's office says Robert West got into a heated argument with the crew before walking back inside and firing several rounds. Fortunately, no one was hurt. West is charged with 8 counts of aggravated assault there in Perry County. Tennessee congressman calling for the state legislature to dismantle Nashville electric service after last month's crippling winter storm. Representative Andy Ogle says NES has shown, quote, systemic failure in both preparedness and response as thousands of customers remain without power for days. Head of the Tennessee Highway Patrol pushing back against concerns over so-called sober DUI arrests. Colonel Matt Perry told lawmakers of another committee yesterday that troopers do not arrest drivers unless they believe impairment is present.
About sober drivers, and I don't, it's not accurate statement. These are people whose testing came back 0 for whatever reason. But I can tell you, we're doing a deep dive. We don't have anything to hide, and we are working on a system where in the future, it's not going to take us very long to tell you every 0-0 case.
This comes after investigations found more than 2,500 DUI arrests since 2017 involved drivers who later tested at 0 blood alcohol, but not all of those were the Highway Patrol arrests. Perry says the agency's reviewing those cases and working to improve transparency. Here in Nashville, Metro Council members going to meet with representatives from the Boring Company later this month to discuss the discussion is set for February 19th during the council's Transportation and Infrastructure Committee meeting. Councilmember Delisha Porterfield says the session will give members a chance to ask questions directly. The public can watch the meeting on the Metro Nashville Network and on YouTube. And Metro Nashville school leaders have approved new start times starting in the 2026-27 school year. High schools will move 20 minutes later, while elementary schools shift to 8:10 in the morning, middle schools to 8:55. MNPS says the changes are designed to better match student sleep needs and respond to community feedback. The district will now begin adjusting bus routes and schedules ahead of next fall. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.